Liam stood in the courtyard of Verona University, his usual confident posture a little more tense than usual. He adjusted his jacket, scanning the sea of students around him. His life, as always, was a whirlwind of meetings, classes, and high society events. But today his mind was elsewhere. Liam's eyes flicked toward Evan, who was sitting alone on a bench under a large oak tree, reading a textbook. Despite the bustling campus, Evan's quiet presence made him seem like a figure from another world. Out of place, but incredibly captivating. The way his messy brown hair fell into his eyes, the way he furiously scribbled notes, oblivious to the world around him, it all struck something deep in Liam's chest. When Evan stood to walk across the courtyard, Liam's heart fluttered for reasons he couldn't explain. He watched as Evan passed by, eyes downcast, the world oblivious to him, as always. Who is he? Liam muttered to himself, though he knew the answer. Evan Westbrook, the quiet scholarship student from the rough side of town. Liam's obsession with Evan grew in the weeks that followed. He watched from the sidelines, never approaching him directly, but doing everything he could to ensure Evan's life wasn't as hard as it seemed. Liam found small ways to make sure Evan had what he needed: books, food, repairs to his old bike. One evening, Liam overheard Evan talking to a group of students in the library. His voice was quiet, but it carried a note of frustration. "I can't afford the new textbooks, and I'm behind on assignments. I just don't get how everyone here has it so easy," Evan said, shaking his head as he glanced at the expensive textbooks around him. Liam watched from behind a row of bookshelves, his hand instinctively reaching into his pocket. He made a quick call, arranging for a set of textbooks to be delivered anonymously to Evan's dorm. The next day, Evan was stunned when the books appeared in his room, and he could only wonder who had sent them. But Liam never let himself be known. He stayed in the shadows, keeping his identity a secret. Everything changed when Kyle, the charming and popular student, started taking an interest in Evan. Liam had seen him around, good-looking, confident, the kind of guy who never had to try hard to fit in. But unlike Liam, Kyle didn't just watch from the sidelines. He actively engaged with Evan. Liam noticed them working together on a project, their heads close as they shared notes, laughing together over something Evan had said. It made Liam's chest tighten with jealousy. Later that day, Liam overheard a conversation between Kyle and some of his friends. Kyle was bragging about how easy it was to get under Evan's skin, how you just need to be kind to him, make him feel special. The way Kyle's voice dripped with false sincerity made Liam's blood boil. He knew Kyle wasn't the kind of person who genuinely cared about Evan. Evan, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to the manipulation. They spent more time together, and Kyle's smooth words and easy charm won Evan over slowly. At first, Liam tried to be patient, watching from afar. But every time he saw Kyle smile at Evan, his protective instincts flared. He couldn't stand the thought of Evan falling for Kyle's lies. One afternoon, Liam couldn't take it anymore. He stormed into the student lounge, where Kyle and Evan were laughing at some inside joke. "Evan," Liam called, his voice louder than he intended. Evan turned, surprised to see Liam standing there, his face drawn with frustration. "Oh, hey, Liam. What's up?" Kyle smirked and gave Liam a friendly pat on the back. "Hey, man, we were just talking. Don't worry, Evan and I were just getting to know each other better." Liam's fists clenched at his sides. "I think you've done enough," Liam said through gritted teeth. Evan looked between them, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" Kyle immediately stepped in. "Oh, nothing really. Just a misunderstanding. Liam's just a bit protective of you, huh?" Liam was seething, but forced a smile. "I'm fine, Kyle. Just wanted to make sure Evan's okay." But Evan wasn't convinced. He glanced between them, uneasy. "I'll see you later, Liam." Liam watched as Evan walked away, his heart sinking. Kyle's smile widened, and Liam couldn't suppress the flare of anger inside him. As days passed, Liam noticed a change in Evan. The once quiet student who had always kept to himself was now spending more time with Kyle, laughing at jokes Liam couldn't understand, becoming more distant. One evening, Liam overheard Evan and Kyle talking in the student lounge again. "You should really stay away from people like him," Evan, Kyle said, his voice low but insistent. "Liam only helps people because it makes him feel powerful. He doesn't do it for you." People like him think they can control us, make us indebted to them. Evan looked uncomfortable, but didn't argue. I don't know, Kyle. Maybe you're right. I've always had trouble trusting people like him. But you've been there for me. Kyle smiled, his eyes glinting with satisfaction. Exactly. I'm just trying to look out for you. Liam's heart shattered as he listened from behind the door. Every word Kyle spoke was a lie, but Evan believed him. The pain in Evan's eyes when he spoke of Liam hurt more than anything. Elise had been watching her brother for weeks, noticing how much his obsession with Evan was weighing on him. She could see the exhaustion in Liam's eyes every time he came home from campus, frustrated and defeated. He was a perfectionist, used to controlling every aspect of his life. But Evan had proven to be a different challenge altogether. Elise knew that Liam wasn't going to confront Evan directly on his own. His pride wouldn't let him. So, it was time for her to step in. One afternoon, she decided to pay Evan a visit. She knew he wasn't the type to approach someone like her, and she had to make sure the truth was revealed. She couldn't let her brother lose Evan to Kyle's lies. Elise walked to Evan's dorm, her steps confident but calm. She knew what she had to do. When she arrived, she knocked on his door, a soft but firm knock that echoed in the quiet hallway. Evan opened it, looking surprised to see her standing there. Hi, Evan. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Elise greeted him with a warm smile, though there was an edge of seriousness in her voice. Evan blinked, still taken aback. Oh no, not at all. What's going on? I need to talk to you, she said, her expression softening. It's about my brother, Liam. Evan hesitated, his expression guarded. He didn't know what to expect, but he already had doubts about Liam's intentions, especially with everything Kyle had said. Elise could see the uncertainty in his eyes. She stepped inside when Evan didn't protest, and they both sat on the small couch in his room. Evan, I know what Kyle's been saying to you, and I need you to hear the truth, she began, her voice steady but firm. My brother isn't the person Kyle's trying to make you believe he is. I know it's hard to trust someone who seems like they're from a different world than you, but Liam has been looking out for you. He's always cared about you. Evan's eyes narrowed slightly. What do you mean? Elise took a deep breath, sitting back slightly as she gathered her thoughts. You think all the help he's given you, the books, the bike repairs, the scholarships, has been out of some sense of control or manipulation, don't you? Evan shifted uncomfortably. He hadn't wanted to admit it to himself, but Kyle's words had left an impact. Yeah, I thought it was strange. I didn't understand why someone like him would want to help someone like me. Elise leaned forward, her voice lower now, more earnest. Liam has been doing everything he can to make sure you didn't have to struggle. He's never once asked for anything in return. He wanted to remain anonymous because he didn't want you to think he was doing it for any other reason. He didn't want you to feel obligated. Evan's heart skipped a beat. But if that's true, then why didn't he just tell me? Elise's expression softened with understanding. Because he was afraid you wouldn't believe him. He's been afraid of pushing you away, of you thinking he's doing it all just to get something in return. He's always protected you from the shadows, Evan, and it broke his heart when you started pulling away. Evan sat in stunned silence, trying to process everything. The weight of Kyle's words had been so convincing, and now, everything Elise was telling him seemed so different. His mind raced. But Kyle! Elise, I don't know what to think. Kyle said, he said Liam was just using me. That everything he did was just a way to control me. To make me feel indebted to him. That's why I pushed him away, Evan confessed, his voice thick with emotion. Elise's eyes hardened at the mention of Kyle's name. Kyle doesn't care about you, Evan. He's been manipulating you from the start, turning you against Liam because he wants you for himself. He wants to make you believe that you can't trust anyone but him. But that's not love. That's control. She stood up, her tone becoming more urgent. If you really want to know the truth, Evan, just look at the facts. Who has been there for you when you had no one? Who made sure you didn't fall through the cracks? It wasn't Kyle. It was Liam. And Liam has been loving you from afar, even when you didn't realize it. Evan's chest tightened as the pieces of the puzzle slowly came together. Everything he had experienced, everything Liam had done, suddenly made sense in a way he hadn't allowed himself to see before. But I didn't know. His voice faltered, regret filling his words. I didn't trust him. I thought he was just playing a game like everyone else. Elise placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her voice softening. I know, Evan. You were confused. But Liam isn't like the others. He's a good person, and he's not trying to control you. He just wants to love you. He just wants to be there for you. You need to talk to him, really talk to him, and you need to hear what he has to say. I promise you, it'll be worth it. Evan's heart pounded in his chest, but this time, it wasn't from fear or doubt. It was a different kind of emotion. Hope, maybe, or the beginning of something new. I need to see him, Evan whispered, finally feeling the weight of his own feelings. I need to apologize. Evan found Liam sitting alone in the campus courtyard later that afternoon. His usual confident posture was gone, replaced with a weary, almost defeated air. Liam was scrolling through his phone, but he looked up when he felt Evan's presence. I wasn't sure you'd come, Liam said, his voice quieter than usual. There was an uncertainty in his eyes that made Evan's heart ache. I'm sorry, Liam. I was wrong about you, Evan said, his voice full of sincerity. I let Kyle manipulate me, and I didn't trust you. But everything Elise said, it makes sense now. You've been looking out for me. You've been there when I didn't even realize it. Liam stood up, his eyes wide with surprise, his guard slowly lowering. You believe me now? Evan nodded, stepping closer. I do. I didn't know how to see it before, but now I do. I'm sorry. I should have trusted you. Liam's heart swelled with relief, but there was a slight sadness in his expression too. It's okay, he said softly, his voice full of emotion. I never expected you to trust me right away. But I've always cared about you, Evan. I just wanted to protect you. The two stood there in silence, the weight of their past misunderstandings hanging in the air between them. But this time, there was no barrier, no lies, just the raw honesty of their emotions. And as Liam reached out to gently touch Evan's arm, he felt a spark of hope, the beginning of something new, a love that had survived the test of time and misunderstanding. The air between them was still heavy with the tension of their past, but something had shifted in that moment. The guarded walls around their hearts were crumbling, bit by bit. Evan could feel his pulse racing in his chest as he stood before Liam, feeling a surge of emotions he hadn't allowed himself to acknowledge before. Liam, his usual confident demeanor softened by the vulnerability he had hidden for so long, took a small step closer to Evan. His eyes were filled with an honesty that Evan had never seen before, raw, unguarded, and brimming with emotions. I never wanted to make you feel like you owed me anything, Liam said, his voice low and sincere. I didn't want to control you or make you believe you needed me. I just wanted you to know that I cared. I've cared about you from the moment I saw you. You don't know how much I wanted to be close to you, but I was afraid. Evan's heart twisted at the confession, the weight of his own doubts and misjudgments crushing him. He'd been so blind, so consumed by insecurities, and here was Liam, standing before him, vulnerable and honest, his feelings laid bare. I was afraid too, Evan admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Afraid of letting you in, afraid that I'd just end up being another person who would hurt you. I let Kyle's words cloud my judgment. But now I see everything for what it is. Liam's eyes softened as he stepped even closer, their proximity now more than just physical. It was emotional, a space where only truth and trust could exist. I'm sorry, Evan whispered, his voice full of regret. I should have seen the truth. You've always been there for me, in ways I didn't even realize. I pushed you away because I was scared, but I'm not scared anymore. Liam's lips curled into a small, affectionate smile, the kind of smile that had always made Evan's heart flutter without him understanding why. It's okay, Evan. I understand why you felt the way you did, but you don't have to be scared of me. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here no matter what. Evan looked at Liam, the words filling him with warmth, a sense of security he had never felt before. Without thinking, he reached out and cupped Liam's face in his hands, his thumb brushing against his cheek as he gazed into his eyes that were filled with nothing but sincerity. I was wrong about everything, Evan said, his voice thick with emotion. But I was never wrong about you. I've wanted you for so long, and I never realized it. You're everything to me, Liam. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his heart pounding wildly. Evan, his voice cracked with emotion. You don't know how much that means to me. You mean everything to me, too. Before Evan could say another word, Liam leaned forward, closing the distance between them. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft at first, tentative, testing, but it quickly grew deeper, more urgent, as both of them realized just how long they had been longing for this. It was a kiss full of apologies, confessions, and the start of something real, something neither of them had fully allowed themselves to believe in before. When they pulled back, breathless and with hearts racing, Liam rested his forehead against Evan's, their noses touching as they tried to steady themselves. I don't want to let go, Evan whispered, his voice low and vulnerable. You don't have to, Liam murmured, his hands gently holding Evan close. I'm not letting go of you, Evan. Not ever. Evan smiled, the weight of the world lifting from his shoulders as he held onto Liam, knowing that the trust and love between them had finally been set free. The walls were gone, and all that remained was the truth of their hearts. I love you, Evan said, his words feeling more real than ever. I love you, Liam. Liam's smile was radiant, the joy in his eyes blinding. I love you too, Evan. More than you could ever know. They stood there in the quiet of the evening, the world around them fading into the background. For the first time, everything felt right. They had found each other, after all the misunderstandings, the doubts, and the distance. Right here, right now, and nothing else mattered. And in that moment, their love was all that they needed. The weeks following Evan and Liam's confession were a blur of happiness, warmth, and newfound understanding. Their connection, once clouded by confusion and doubts, had blossomed into something undeniable. They spent their days attending classes together, stealing moments in between lectures and study sessions, sharing their lives in ways they had never done before. The campus had changed for them. What was once just a place of books and tests was now a world where their love flourished, where every glance and touch held meaning. Their classmates, who had been silent observers for so long, quickly began to notice the change between them. At first, whispers ran through the halls, but no one was cruel or judgmental. Instead, their peers seemed to quietly accept the bond they shared, sensing the authenticity and depth between Evan and Liam. One afternoon, as they were sitting on the steps of the campus quad, sharing a quiet lunch together, a group of their friends approached. Among them were Lily, a close friend of Evan's, and Max, one of Liam's old childhood friends. Both had witnessed the tension and drama that had unfolded over the last few months, and now they could see the calm that had settled around the two boys. Lily, who had always known about Evan's internal struggle with trusting Liam, smiled warmly as she sat next to them. I can't believe it. You two, actually together. It's good to see you both happy. Max, leaning casually against a nearby pillar, crossed his arms and smirked. I have to say, I didn't see this coming, but I'm glad it's happening. You both deserve it. Evan exchanged a look with Liam, their eyes full of unspoken understanding, before he smiled at their friends. Yeah, I guess it's been a long time coming, he said, the ease in his voice revealing how far they had come. I didn't realize how much I wanted this. Wanted him. Liam chuckled softly, his arm naturally slipping around Evan's shoulders, pulling him close. Yeah, well, it wasn't exactly easy to get here, but I'm glad we made it. The friends laughed together, their words full of warmth and support. But it was clear that the campus had come to accept their relationship. The whispers that once followed them had transformed into nods of understanding and support. People could see the difference in both Evan and Liam. The way they seemed more at ease, more content with themselves. But just as their world seemed to be settling into a new rhythm, an unexpected turn of events threw everything off balance. It was a normal Thursday morning when the news broke. Kyle had been arrested. The rumors spread quickly across campus, leaving whispers in every corner of the school. At first, no one seemed to understand why, until the full story was revealed. Kyle, the charming, manipulative student who had always seemed to have everything under control, had been secretly involved in drug trafficking. The police had caught him after a long investigation, and he was arrested in the middle of the night. His arrest made headlines, and the truth about his darker side came to light in ways no one had ever expected. The campus was stunned. How could the same Kyle who had been so popular, so confident, so charming, be involved in something so dangerous and illegal? Later that day, it was announced that Kyle had been expelled from school. His reputation, built on lies and manipulation, was shattered. All the friends and acquaintances who had once been drawn to him because of his charisma now found themselves backing away, unsure of what to believe. For Evan and Liam, the news was both a relief and a painful reminder of the damage Kyle had caused. Liam, in particular, found it hard to process. Kyle had been the catalyst for much of the confusion and conflict between him and Evan. It was his words that had driven a wedge between them, planting seeds of doubt that nearly destroyed what they had. But now, with Kyle out of their lives, they could finally breathe. The weight of his manipulation was lifted. Liam leaned against the railing of their dorm room balcony, staring out at the campus as the news spread. Evan joined him silently, wrapping his arms around him from behind. "What do you think this means for us?" Evan asked softly, his breath warm against Liam's ear. Liam turned to him, his expression thoughtful. "It means we can finally move on. Kyle can't hurt us anymore. We're free to be ourselves, to be together without all the fear and uncertainty." Evan kissed the back of Liam's neck, pulling him closer. "I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're here." Liam's hand found Evan's, fingers intertwining in a silent promise. "I'll always be here, Evan, no matter what." The following weeks were filled with a sense of peace Evan and Liam had never experienced before. Kyle's arrest and expulsion sent ripples through the campus. But for Evan and Liam, it was the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship. They walked hand in hand across campus, no longer hiding their affection for one another, no longer worried about the judgment of others. Their friends embraced them openly, and their classmates, though some still whispered behind their backs, had mostly come to terms with their relationship, respecting the strength and authenticity of what they shared. One evening, as they walked together through the park near campus, Evan stopped to look at Liam, his expression serious. "You know," Evan began, his voice soft but sure, "Kyle's actions didn't just affect us. They affected everyone around us. I don't want to look back on all this with regret, but I do wish it never had to happen." Liam nodded, squeezing Evan's hand. "I know, but everything that happened brought us here, to this point, and I wouldn't change that, not for anything." Evan smiled, leaning in to kiss Liam gently, the kiss full of promise and tenderness. "I'm glad. I don't know what I would do without you." Liam smiled back, his heart swelling with affection. "You'll never have to find out." As they stood in the quiet of the park, wrapped in each other's arms, they realized that the storm of their past had passed. They were stronger now, more confident in their love. The world around them had changed, but their bond, unbreakable, undeniable, remained the same. Kyle's influence was gone. The lies and manipulations were over. And for the first time, they could look toward the future with hope, knowing that whatever came their way, they would face it together.